Man, this is a behind the scenes take, and it's funny because I was talking about awareness and I was talking about a little problem with something stuck in my teeth, and the whole time until the very end of the video I didn't know that my collar was not properly on. So this whole video, now that I watched this, it bugged me to see that once again I was unaware of some issue and that I didn't know that was a problem until the very end. And please don't let it distract you from the true message of this video. More action, more action, more action TV. Thanks for joining into another episode of More Action TV. And today is Feel Good Friday. On this week's episode of Feel Good Friday, I'm going to ask you a deep question, and then I'm going to break it down into the 3 questions I asked myself to know the answer to the first question. So stay tuned to this week's episode. Hello, if you don't know me, I am Vante Johnson, the founder of the Millennials of Action Movement and a creator here at MoActionTv. And today I really had a question that was burning at my heart. And I'm asking you because I asked myself the same thing as I look, and the new year's coming and we're gonna, hit the new year running fast. I wanted to ask myself, am I being driven or am I a driver in my life? And that's one of the questions I ask myself every year. I actually try to ask myself that once a quarter, and I look back and I'm aware of what's going on in my life, and I'm recognizing where I have issues. I'm coming to realizations where I can get better, and then I'm helping to resolve familiar issues that I've dealt with other times in my life, and try to, bring together what I talked about in the Wednesday episode where we had Word of the Week and our word was awareness. I try to bring that into my life constantly because I believe that we are, as an individual, constantly growing, and when we're not growing, we're either dying or living. And to me, when I've remained stagnant in life, whether it's mobility at my career or it's me just living life, I feel that if I'm not moving and I'm not growing, something's out of whack. I mean, I know a lot of resources are poured into me, a lot of resources are poured in you, whether that's water or the food that you're partaking every day and night. That should be helping you answer this important question. Are you being driven, or are you being a driver in your life? And that's what the question I want to ask you. But before you answer, wait a second and let me walk you through the 3 questions that I ask myself on a constant basis. So the first question I ask myself is, am I willing to accept full responsibility of what happened to me in the past? And I feel this question is very important because if you're not willing to accept the choices and where you are in life, you're going to pawn them off to someone else. And you're going to be, that's their problem, I'm here. That's their problem, I'm here. When at the end of the day, most of the problems that you have in your life or your current situation is somewhat the sum of all your decisions. And once you realize that, then you can start to decide to undo that and step and go elevate your lifestyle so that you could be a millennial of action. So true story, I've started this channel more than a year ago, and let me tell you, I have nothing to show for it, nothing. I have about 8 videos, and if I told you I was a young guy excited to start his own YouTube channel, and someone asked me, well, let me see what you did this past year, I'm willing to tell them early and accept the fact that I rode on that train, that procrastination train, because I didn't get as much accomplished as I want to do. And now that I'm accepting that reality, I'm not going to tolerate it no more. I am going to start, and I'm going to decide from when I decided on the first, I'm going to put out 3 videos a week. I'm going to continually share content and hopefully find people that enjoy my message. And 2 will start being part of this millennial of action and be a leader in their communities, whether that's in business, that's the social part, because I believe all of them are important. And we, especially being millennials, have the power to do whatever we put our minds to. So once you answer that question, am I taking full responsibility for my life? You can ask yourself this next question, and that first question is really in regards to your past. And then I want you to step and look at where you are at the moment. And that's where this question comes in. Am I good enough? And I say this because one of the biggest reasons we procrastinate, because we have some fear that someone else threw on us that has us questioning, should I do this? Am I good enough? Am I right for it? Do I have credibility? And you start to ask yourself so many questions that you start fearing to take the next step. So then once you can tackle this question head on and say, yes, I am good enough, you can move forward and start taking steps. So that's where I want you to answer this next question. This next question, which is really important, because you got to know why you're doing something. And you got to know why you're doing it. It's important to accept your past, know where you're at, and accept that you're good enough. But you got to have something that's a reach, something that you can work for. In fact, I have something I can work for. I'm trying to build this channel. And just simply saying I'm going to build this channel is not good enough. In fact, you got to say, I'm going to do this, and this is the results that I'm expecting upon myself. And here's the deadline. For example, one of the cool things and one of the goals that I set myself to do this year, 2018, and I promise you guys, I'm going to do that and look at this video and track myself against that. I am going to finish writing my first book and release it. And I put the deadline in my head is Black Friday. It has to be out for sale Black Friday. And then just writing that book, I set myself up with intermediate goals, and the intermediate goals is, hey, by March I have to have a first draft. By June I gotta go be out to editors, have the book edited, and start working on the cover. And then that is promote. Create some awareness so that people are just sitting at the edge of their seats waiting to see my book, my piece, my life story. My blood, sweat, and tears. And that's what you gotta have. You gotta have a reach. Something that you can look forward to, because this is my first book. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, but I know what the end goal is. So I'm gonna help find people that are familiar with the common issues that a writer has, or I'm gonna find somebody that has some knowledge of how to write a book, and I'm going to package that all together and give the world the best that I got. And that's what I'm projected to do in 2018. So now that you know these three important questions. The first question, am I responsible for my past events? And accepting that that's the first step, because that's your past. Then your next question is, am I good enough right now? And the answer to that question ought to be, yes, I'm good enough and I'm ready to be the driver in 2018. And then after you have that, you got to have defined goals, expectation, and limits. And don't be afraid for those limits to be a reach, because we all have to reach somewhere. The sky is the limit. We actually place limits on ourselves based on our past experience and how big we're willing to think. So I would advise you to think as big as you can, because you are Millennial of Action. And this year, you're going to answer that question and say, Vante, I'm a driver in 2018. So that concludes this week's episode of Feel Good Friday. If this inspired you or did anything touch you in a way, please let me know. Share. Give me your feedback. If I didn't say a word right, correct me. I love it. Positive feedback, positive reinforcement, because as we put out positive energy into the world, I believe we're going to get it back. And you too are going to get it back and become that Millennial of Action. That Millennial of Action that you are destined to be. Become your driver today, right now.